Hey YouTube, apologize for my appearance and voice. I am still very sick, but I wanted to do one of these behind the meta history of whatever I'm calling it for Galarian Stunfisk, because Galarian Stunfisk is right now nowhere to be found. For being ranked 22, it really is not on any team that I've seen. I actually tried using it on a team now, so maybe we'll see that moving forward. I only got a couple battles in with it today, but it is really nowhere. And it was the number one ranked Pokemon in this meta for a while. And if you look at the stats, you look at the moveset, you look at typings, it really made sense why it was the number one Pokemon for a while. And then if you look at all that stuff now, it makes sense why it's not anywhere near the top 20 people are not using it. So Galarian Stunfisk history, Registeel was the go-to steel Pokemon. But back in the day, Registeel did not have Zap Cannon. It had Flash Cannon. So it had Focus Blast and Flash Cannon, which was decent overall, right? You still have all that good stat product and stuff like that. But it just kind of like wasn't as strong as with Zap Cannon. It's just not even close to as strong with Zap Cannon. Then Galarian Stunfisk showed up. And Galarian Stunfisk benefited from I'd say three things. So the first is the stat product, as you can see right here. 101 attack, 127 defense, 169 stamina, 2200 overall, right? So you have that low attack, high defense and stamina that you see on Metachamp, that you see on Azumarill, that you see on Lantern, like a very low attack with a high defense and stamina. So it could just take a lot of damage. The second thing it benefited from was its moveset. So you have Mud Shot, one of the best fast moves in the game for energy generation. You have Rock Slide, which was not an amazing move, but it was a really, really nice coverage move. Only took 5 Mud Shots to get to a Rock Slide. So with like, at the time, which was like a lot of flyers and Altaria and Pelipper was everywhere for a while, it was quite good with the Rock Slide. And then you had Earthquake. So Earthquake has since been nerfed a little bit, but still 65, 132 for 2.03. Pretty good overall. Slightly nerfed now. But the main thing that was great about it was its typing. So yes, you had 4 weaknesses, fighting, fire, ground, and water. But look at your resistances. 4 times resist poison. 3 times resist. No. Let's just do the backwards. This is my foggy brain. Single resist, bug, dragon, fairy, flying, normal, psychic, steel. Double resist, electric, and rock. Triple resist, poison. So the typing there was amazing because you had, at the time, you had a lot of flying. You had a good amount of fairy back in the day, like A9tails was everywhere, and a couple other fairies. The other moves, electric, bug, like there was Galvantula and stuff. It wasn't as relevant. But one of the main things that you did great against was there's stuff like Grass Hole and all that stuff around where you were just a wall to Bastion. And Bastion was making a big, big push. So this was the greatest answer because you double resist rock. And it was just, you absolutely dominated that matchup. And so you would get your Galarian Stunfisk on Bastion and you just wall it. And yes, they can hit fire, super effective flamethrower, but it's a Bastion, right? So it's not that much of an issue. Plus you were just so spammy with their Mudshot Earthquakes. It's just super, super strong. So it was a top ranked Pokemon. It was the number one ranked Pokemon for a while. Just because you had the Mudshot Earthquake combo with Rock Slide coverage and great typing. 3 things happened. The first thing was Registeel got Zap Cannon. And Zap Cannon that lowered your opponent's attack 100% cannot be understated how strong that was. And if you look at just the sort of secondary moves, right? Like yes, Earthquake does 132. That's great. But on Registeel, you have a higher energy move, 5 energy per turn on lock on. And yes, these moves are very, very high. Like Flash Cannon was not bad, right? 74 and 32. But having that 80 for 155, and it was 100% chance of lowering your opponent's attack. So just being able to, like, because you have lock on, basically charge so fast and then gets the Zap Cannon. Everyone was just using Registeel. There was really no reason to use it. I guess the second option here is, if you look at the resistance and typing, very, very, very similar. Picking up that ground secondary typing on Galarian STUNFISK made you weak to water that you're not weak to water here. So having a water weakness, and we'll talk about the meta in 1 second, made it a slightly weaker. So I have one less weakness in water with Zap Cannon everywhere, plus Earthquake a couple seasons ago got nerfed a little bit, not much. Inconsequential, I think, overall, but that was the start of Galarian STUNFISK going away. But that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is that you need to find someone that looks at you the way Niantic looks at water Pokemon in GBL, because I went over this again, and this is not surprising. There are 20 water Pokemon in the top 40. Feraligatr, Quagsire, Swampert, Lantern, Azumarill, Mantine, Whiscash, Empoleon, Pelipper, Poliwrath, Quagsire, Jellicent, Greninja. Right, so you're just loaded with water. You're now loaded with fighting. The meta for a long time was Medicham and Medicham, Lantern, which is a good matchup for you, and then Noctowl. And the freaking Noctowl matchup, let's see if I put it in. Oh, sorry. Let's see if it's in this meta. Where is the Noctowl? It's not even in the meta. That's how Noctowl will be an interesting one. Let's see if I can do, because if you had STUNFISK against a Noctowl, it's not going to come up the exact same now because Sky Attack's been nerfed, so it probably won't show up as much, but it does show up as much. Straight, you have a super effective Rock Slide versus a non-stab Shadow Ball against a Flyer, and you lose. You lost. I remember this. You lost because 2 Rock Slides do not take out Noctowl. So 67 damage, 40.1. 2 Rock Slides would not take out Noctowl. So you had Medis everywhere. You still had like Azumarils everywhere. And now you have a freaking Flyer that beats you, right? So between that, and that's the thing. Like when you have a Flyer that beats you, why would you use that Pokemon instead of just using Registeel where you know you're going to win? And that's kind of the main issue. We had what was a super, super strong Pokemon just getting beat by the current state of the meta. And speaking about the current state of the meta, 20-20 record, 476. And it's tough, right? Medi, Poliwrath, Swampert, Annihilate, Whiscash, Gligar. Let's just ignore Gligar for a second because you have Annihilate and everything else that I mentioned, 255 and lower, which means not only are you losing, your opponent is coming out with a ton of energy. And like when the meta for a good amount of time was Poliwrath and its Whiscash everywhere, you can't use a Pokemon that gets that beaten constantly in a meta that is all over the place. So yes, it has some wins. Like there are someone like Lantern, you resist the Spark. Bastion, Carbink, they're not around as much anymore. Charge Bug and stuff, there are. There's still Altaria and stuff, and that. But even some of these like neutral matchups are not as great, right? So Skarmory, you resist Steel Ring, you resist Brave Bird. It's same thing. You win with 526. That's not a good win against a Flyer where you resist everything. And it's like you barely win 9 attack, right? So, and then in just like you get like outbulked in some of these matchups like Venusaur and Sableye and stuff like that. And then just the current state of the meta. So with the meta the way it is, so I think it's a couple things. I think it's the Rock Slide was great. The Rock Slide was great until it wasn't great anymore, right? So the Rock Slide was a great coverage move until 2 Rock Slides didn't take out Noctowl. Until it takes like 3+ Rock Slides to take out Skarmory. So what should be an easy Flyer win, Steel Ground against Flyers, you're not winning those like you should. In fact, you're losing some. Combine that with the fact that the meta is unfortunately just all mud boys and fighters, there's no real play for you right now. So I tried to do I did like 3 battles with double steel. I used Registeel, Galarian, STUNFISK backline. And I was like 1 and 2 with it. So I don't know if I'll keep going with it, or maybe I'll do something with like covering more, because I think it still has play, right? There are still Altarias and there's still Lanturns everywhere, and you do okay in neutral matchups because you are spammy and stuff like that. It just there's a lot in the meta that is going against you right now, so that's what kind of makes you limited. So that's Galarian STUNFISK. Kind of a quicker episode, just because again, there's not a lot of history behind it between what happened to it. It's just very obvious. I think the first sign was, yeah, it's just the Registeel getting Zap Cannon, not being able to hit Noctowl, losing to Noctowl with multiple rock slides, and then just the state of the meta. It's pretty straightforward what happened to it, so it's very limited in what it can do. So in terms of Steel, like Registeel's still number 1. I still think that's overrated, quite honestly. In terms of Steel, everyone is using Skarmory. That flying Steel type is a very unique typing, which helps you a lot. I'm not seeing many Bastiodons, and I'm not seeing many Galarian STUNFISK, right? So it's truly, I'm seeing more Sandslash than I am seeing STUNFISK and Bastiodon, despite the rankings. So yeah, that's the limitation of STUNFISK. So yeah, apologize for my voice, apologize for the energy. I'm just hurting. But I wanted to try and put out 2 videos today because people were enjoying them. But yeah. Okay, I'm done. Okay, bye.